Hello, my name is Fane, and I like to experiment with all kinds of AI technologies. But mostly I like to explore the capabilities of Midjourney. I am also yet again trying out a different voice, so let me know what you think about this one. If you have watched my previous experimentations with voices, you may already know why I don't do the voiceovers myself and use artificial voices. Well, the main reason is that a majority of you did not like my own voice and accent, as I am not a native English speaker, and I also have a weird voice. But the actual topic of this video is the exploration of the Inpainting model of Midjourney version 5.2. I did contemplate if I should do a video about Inpainting until I realized that I did want to try out what the Inpainting model looks like compared to the regular model. So in case you did not already know, at the moment you can generate images with the Inpainting model by doing the following things. First, generate an image with /imagine followed by whatever you would like to prompt along with all your other parameters. Then upscale one of the images in the resulting grid. I don't think it matters which one, but just to be safe, select your favorite of the four. Below that upscaled image you will see the Vary Region button, and so you go ahead and press that. Depending on your settings, specifically if you have remix mode enabled, you may or may not see your prompt in the text box below the image. So if you did want to use Inpainting to change a portion of your image to something specific, having the remix mode on would enable you to change what you want to see in that particular area of the image. But for our experiment, we are going to select the entire area of the image to be changed, and then we press the Submit button, and the resulting image will be with the same prompt, but made with the Inpainting model. Midjourney has confirmed that Inpainting uses a different model that you are not able to prompt on its own at the time of making this video, but there may be plans to make it available as a 5.2b version during September of 2023. So for the purposes of this video, I went ahead and tested almost 300 different words with the Inpainting model. I selected my favorite 100 of them that I liked and wanted to show you. So in this video you will see 50 of them, and I plan on making a part 2 with the remaining 50. I also realized that I wanted to compare the results side by side, but I had just 2 images with the 9:16 aspect ratio for each word, so I went ahead and compared also what the style raw version looked like. But then I decided to test out what the Inpainting model does with the raw version, and it was indeed different looking. So before we take a look at them, here are some of my observations from this experiment. Obviously the seed number does not work the same way as with normal prompting, but the raw version looks distinctly different from the non-raw, and I am kind of mixed whether this is because the Inpainting takes the original image as a source material and iterates upon that, or there is actually a raw version of the Inpainting model. Also, I do like the default look of the Inpainting model a lot more than the version 5.2 default. The lighting is a lot better, the colors are more contrasted, there is a little bit less of the surrealism and maximalism, and we get red color more often where before we had orange. So here are the words that I tested out. I will have 4 grids of images side by side. The first grid will be the regular 5.2 style. The second grid will be the outcome of the Vary region for one of the images in the first grid. The third grid will be the same prompt, but with -- style raw. And the fourth grid will be the outcome of the Vary region for one of the images in the third grid. Algorithm. This looks definitely different with the Inpainting model. I like the spheres connected with lines. The raw style has some slight improvements with the Inpainting model. Alien. Kind of scary looking creatures across all the models. It's kind of hard to tell what the differences are. I suppose the raw style Inpainting adds a lot of details to the images compared to the non-raw Inpainting model. Android. There seems to be a night and day difference between the raw style and the non-raw, and for the non-raw style it's kind of hard to tell which one of the images was actually used for the Vary region. It was the lower right one, so it looks nothing like the Inpainting model results. So based on this, I would draw conclusions that the Vary region for the entire image generates a new image with the same prompt with the Inpainting model, but just ignores all of the other parameters. Arcana. I think this one looks very good, but may also feature a lot of the default look as well, and raw style has some text on there basically on all of the images, but nice style, very magical. Aurora borealis. Technically this is actually 2 words, but it is the correct term for this phenomenon. The Inpainting model kind of does something weird there in the non-raw images. They look nice, but not like what they're supposed to. Castle. With these, I think I prefer the raw images more. The Inpainting model for the non-raw has actually added some more surrealism in the images, but the colors are popping more, and the lighting seems to be better for all of the Inpainting model images. Cat. The non-raw Inpainting images look even more weird than the original, and the raw images have more beautiful lighting for the Inpainting model images. I used the floral cat in the top right for the raw images, so it looks like there are some flowers in the Inpainting images too. So based on this, I feel like the Inpainting model looks at the source image as a reference. Chiaroscuro. I love this effect on the images. The light and the dark contrast so well, and I think that I prefer most the raw non-inpainted style. Here I used the portrait of the man as the source image for Inpainting, and the results look nothing like it. So this result entirely contradicts the cat theory with the flowers. Comet. Really pretty landscape and space images. I actually think I prefer the regular model more for both raw and non-raw images. Compass. These look pretty, but I don't think I see a big improvement between the regular model and the Inpainting model. Cyberpunk. For some reason I feel like the cyberpunk is not really there for the regular Inpainting, but for the raw style the Inpainting looks great and on point. Cyborg. I think that for this one, both the Inpainting examples seem to be preferring red glowing eyes, but so does the regular raw model. Also, it's interesting that the regular model seems to prefer female-looking cyborgs, and the raw model seems to prefer male-looking cyborgs. Destiny. I think this word may be generating images related to a video game with the same name, but I think all of these images look pretty epic regardless. The regular Inpainting model has some of that red color compared to the orange overload of the regular model. Dog. It's very difficult to determine if the source image actually has a role in the Inpainting outcomes. Here I feel that the dogs may actually have some similarities when you look at the dog breed and facial expressions. I had the low variation setting on at the time of generating these images, so if these were variations of the original image, they are really far from the original, and should be closer in appearance with the lower variation setting. Doll. The dolls of version 5.2 have been really creepy, and they still are, so the Inpainting model seems to lessen the creep factor a little bit. Dragon. I have noticed that when it comes to imaginary places or creatures or things, the raw version actually looks quite similar to the regular version, and there are very subtle improvements on the images with the Inpainting. I think there's more tiny details. Drill. The raw images look pretty much what one would think of when hearing this word, but the regular version and especially the Inpainting model have come up with some very cool strangeness. Elf. I really like basically all of the images. They're very cute and green, and the difference of the Inpainting model seems to be very subtle, mostly the lighting. Enchanted forest. Looks like the usual forests Midjourney generates, but a little bit enchanted. There are some pretty images overall, but I think the Inpainted ones have more variation and a nicer look. Envy. This is pretty much the default style, just more green. I do like the Inpainting style more, and I don't know why the raw style thought of guitars when trying to picture this word. Equilibrium. There is an interesting, more minimalistic look with this word and lots of spheres, scales and interconnecting strings or chains. I do prefer the non-Inpainted model more with this word. Ethereal. This word has always resulted in really nice looking images in my opinion. And across all the models, I do like the Inpainted models the most, but actually the raw style is quite good too. I feel the lighting is better in the Inpainted images. Exoplanet. If you want some really pretty landscape views of an alien planet, Exoplanet does that for you. Inpainting seems to shrink the planets and the moons in the sky, so I do think I prefer the regular model. Extraterrestrial. This one seems to produce some less scary looking aliens than just Alien did, but that's probably because the word is associated with the franchise of the same name that actually had quite scary aliens. But these are almost cute, and I prefer the Inpainted models more. Fairy. You may have noticed that I really like all kinds of fantasy themes, and all of these images look great. but I feel like the regular version is better than the Inpainting this time, because the wings on the fairies look like butterfly wings in random places. Farmer. I feel like the Inpainting model is an improvement on the image quality with this word, and the cow in the overalls and hat is simply hilarious. Fate. This is another example of the Inpainting model's default look. It looks really pretty compared to the original, and it's strange that the raw model has produced some anime images. Fire. Looks like fire, but I like the regular model the most. I don't feel like there is a really big improvement with the Inpainting this time. Fish. I don't really like the raw images. Also, I think I like the regular model the most compared to all the other models based on this selection of images. Futuristic city. I really like all of these images, and I just noticed how close the regular model and raw model are. They're basically the same. I guess there may be a small improvement with Inpainting, but it's really hard to tell because all of the images look so good. Gardener. I selected this word to show you because there's some weird stuff happening with the non-raw Inpainting model. The regular model looks pretty normal except the maximalism aspect, but I don't know what masks those gardeners have put on in the Inpainting images. Very unexpected. Glitch. Very cool effect on the images, and I like the Inpainting images more than the original models. And this one is also a great example of generating 3 landscapes where the original image was a portrait. So this would mean that the original image was not taken into consideration when Inpainting, and the result is just what the Inpainting model would look like if only it was prompted. Gorgon. Very creepy yet mesmerizing and obviously fantasy-inspired. For the non-raw images, I think the Inpainting model is an improvement. And from the raw models I prefer the original images, because the Inpainted images have too many statues there. Griffin. Another fantasy-inspired creature, and I think the Inpainted images look better. The raw seems to have a lot of phone cases. I didn't actually use any of the phone case images as the original for Inpainting, so it seems that has also generated lots of phone cases on its own. How else would you explain these results? Guitar. I don't think actual guitars normally look this decorated and colorful, but there's some really pretty ones in there. It is also really difficult to determine if the Inpainting model is an improvement for this word. Harpy. And another fantasy-inspired creature with basically all of the images looking so fierce in my opinion. But oddly I again seem to prefer the original models instead of the Inpainting models. The difference is really not that noticeable. Hologram, and this one creates just a really nice effect on the images. I'm not a fan of the raw style images though. Horse. The Inpainting model looks better to me, because there's some weird swirlies typically going on in the regular 5.2 model that I don't particularly like. But when I look at the raw images, I think I prefer the original images more compared to the Inpainted images. Ice. The non-raw images look better to me, and there are images that I like that are both Inpainted and original, although it would seem that the ice part is kind of lost in the Inpainting for both the Inpainting models. Justice. Lots of scales. I think there's some really cool images here. I don't particularly like the raw style images with the bronze figurines, but here we can notice that the Inpainted images are clearly more detailed. Kitsune. I really like these fox creatures. The Inpainted images are more detailed, and the colors seem deeper. As this is another fantasy-inspired creature, we again see that the raw style is so much closer to the regular style, although the regular style seems to have more woman than fox, whereas the raw styles look to be more fox. Kraken, a tentacled monster typically pictured alongside sailing ships. So an octopus, but angrier and scarier. Again, as the fantasy-inspired creature, the models look all really alike. The Inpainted models seem to look a bit scarier to me, and the Krakens have teeth. Landscape. For some reason the landscapes tend to look very surreal with the regular model. Inpainting continues that with some of the images, but not all, and the raw images are much more what I would expect or prefer to see with this prompt. Lantern. Basically all of them look what lanterns look like. I like the Inpainted non-raw lanterns the most. Liberty. Very strongly influenced by the Statue of Liberty, which is a pretty famous landmark. I do like that the regular Inpainting model has done something else there. Lighthouse, overall really pretty images here, so it's difficult to say which are my favorites. The Inpainting for the regular model looks quite different from the original images. Lion, here is a bunch of lions. The Inpainting model also seems to be adding some flowers to the regular model images which you don't typically see in the context of lions. Do all lions look the same, or is this just the same lion in all of the images? Mermaid, I like all of these images. Although I do think I like the Inpainted images slightly more. It also seems that we get a lady in a scaly dress floating underwater, but not the actual fishtail that one would expect to see in the context of a mermaid. Minotaur, angry-looking fantasy creatures with horns. It would seem that sometimes with all the models the creatures look more like orcs with horns. The Inpainted models are slightly more detailed. Mirror, and the last word for this video is mirror. Raw images look pretty regular, but there is again a sliver of proof that the original image does not matter for the Inpainting outcome that much. If that wasn't the case, I think we should see a lot more of the type of mirror we got with the raw style in the Inpainted images as well. And the same goes for the regular style models as well. You can't tell which of the images was the original for this one. Can you guess? Alright, these were the images for part 1, and this exploration of the Inpainting model will continue in a part 2 video. What do you think? Is the outcome affected by the original image or not? Shouldn't there be less variation if it was? And what do you think of the Inpainting model look? Do you like it or not? For me, it is a breath of fresh air, and a realization that I should also have looked at the raw style again much sooner. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. I also appreciate all the likes and comments I get. So thank you for watching, and let's continue prompting.